Hello, my name is Allie Jones, and today I will be presenting on the effects of divorce on childhood/adolescent development. I chose this research topic because it's something very personal to me since my parents got divorced, and I ended up, for this project in general, researching the effects of divorce on childhood and adolescent development through various peer-reviewed articles, and then interviewing 5 different participants about how divorce has affected them in the long run. Each one of my participants that I interviewed, their parents have been divorced for over 12 years, and so they were all able to reflect back upon their development now and how they are as adults now and how they feel like their parents' divorce influenced who they are now. In one of the articles that I read some really interesting statistics on divorce and how it affects children worldwide. So we see very high divorce percentages, not just here in the United States, but all over the world. If we look at the effects of divorce on the well-being of children, according to one article, they found that children of divorced families are significantly less educated, more self-conscious, and lack self-control. Another article found that children that come from divorced families are at greater risk of reduced socioeconomic well-being, reduced academic achievement, early intercourse, physical health problems, as well as behavioral problems. If we look at how those effects of divorce in childhood carry into adulthood, we find that many adults that came from divorced families suffer from mental health problems, emotional problems, reduced physical health, lower socioeconomic status, more partner changes in adulthood, less stable or satisfying partner relationships, more perpetuation of interpartner violence. According to one article, many states and parents are going through co-parenting classes. And regarding these mandatory co-parenting classes, it says, instruction that is now sufficiently trauma-informed increases the likelihood that parents will grasp and respond to the role of unresolved prior trauma in their lives. Without steps to mitigate the effects of early trauma, parents run a substantial risk of subjecting their children to their own traumatic experiences. This point basically just states that unless parents are dealing with their own prior traumatic circumstances, then they will most likely subject their children to those same circumstances. And so it's so vital that if you hopefully never experience divorce, but if you end up experiencing divorce, or if someone who's close to you ends up experiencing divorce, that parents make sure to embrace their own trauma and not subject their children to their same traumatic experiences. For my participants that I interviewed, we'll see that some of these themes recur throughout each one of their interviews. Participant number 1's parents got divorced when she was 10, and she remembers finding out about the divorce by hearing her mom talk about the phone on it. She instantly put up walls and just felt very numb to everything. She lost trust in general with everyone, and she lived with her mom but really had no relationship with her dad because she only saw him 3 or 4 times a year. Neither parent really showed interest in her education, and after her mom got remarried and she moved schools, she remembers never really feeling smart again after the divorce. As an adult, it was so important to her to marry someone who had never had a girlfriend before because she didn't want there to be anyone that she felt like he could compare her to. She just needed that assurance that he would never leave her. She now thinks that her parents were too young to have gotten married and that they should have never got married. Participant number 2's parents got divorced when she was 9. Her family had a meeting and she was really confused and felt like she never really turned to her family after the divorce but would always go to friends instead. She would switch off every other week between her mom and dad and every other holiday as well, and she absolutely hated holidays because she felt like she was always forced to go somewhere. She felt like before the divorce, was closer to her mom and really didn't have a great relationship with her dad, but felt like her relationships got worse with both parents up until very recently. She got closer with her older brother as he took on the fatherly role, and her mom really pushed her to get a good education, a good career after the divorce, because she didn't want her daughter to end up in a similar situation that she was in. She was sheltered from the details of the divorce and doesn't really know all of the details, but she feels like she doesn't really need to know all of the details. It's still hard for her to trust people and to enter into romantic relationships because she doesn't like feeling vulnerable or opening up to men in general. Participant number 3's parents got divorced when she was 10, and she was thrilled that her parents were getting divorced because they'd been fighting for such a long time. She always felt like her mom really didn't want her to have a relationship with her dad, and even though she still lived with both parents after the divorce because her mom was the caretaker for her dad since he had recently had a stroke, she really never had a good relationship with him. Her mom worked really late hours, and so her 4 siblings that were left at home took care of her and helped her improve her education and really pushed her to do well in school because her mom and dad both had no involvement in her education. Her mom was very open about why she got divorced, and in romantic relationships, she feels like as an adult she's always been very distrustful and that she broke off relationships very easily. She now understands that her parents' divorce wasn't just her dad's fault and recognizes her mom's role in the divorce as well. Participant number 4's parents got divorced when he was 16, and he remembers that he was happy that the fighting would stop before the divorce, but he felt like after the divorce was a time that his mind was just the most depressed and angry and violent and aggressive. This was a really hard time for him in his life where he felt like he would cope through prayer, punching his punching bag, weightlifting, and chopping down trees. He was put through a few therapy sessions for about a year, but really not very many to have an effect. He had a horrible relationship with both parents, and he felt like he had a lot less pressure to perform well in school. His parents never really talked to him about future careers or scholarships and really didn't have a lot of influence in his education. As an adult, he's now paranoid that his future wife is going to leave him, and he often thinks that he won't be able to make a future wife happy. It's hard for him to progress in relationships and to begin relationships because he'll see certain things in people that make him think that he could potentially get divorced one day. He understands now that his parents really didn't have open communication and that they both were at fault for their divorce. Participant number 5's parents got divorced when she was 17, and she was excited about the divorce because she knew that all of the fighting and arguing and tense emotions in the house would stop, or so she thought. She lived with her mom and really only saw her dad when she felt like he would get around to it. She had strained relationships with her dad and knew her mom would support her, but would easily retaliate and hurt her when she was feeling vulnerable. She wasn't put through any therapy, and both parents weren't really influences in her education, influencing factors or roles in her education. Her mom was very open with her about the divorce, and as an adult, she's very careful with her romantic relationships. She's able to recognize red flags quickly, and she now feels like 2 of her 3 siblings struggle with severe mental illness due to the divorce. She recognizes that both of her parents were very broken people who had very unhealthy habits, whereas as a child, she always thought that mom was healthy, whereas dad was unhealthy. But she feels like the number 1 contributing thing that led to their divorce was a general lack of respect. So, how can we help children who have been through divorce? Whether we're a leader to children of divorce, or a family member, or an immediate family member, or just a friend of children who've gone through divorce, it's our job to make sure that we emphasize the role of non-avoidant, open communication between the parents and children during the divorce, that we increase our role of support in their lives, whatever it may be, and that we promote self-concept in children and help them know what they are good at, what skills they're good at, and help them strive to help other children whose parents are getting divorced. Here are some of my references, and I hope that this video was very informative to you.